Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the After Effects Masterclass. In this masterclass, you guys are going to, as we mentioned in the intro, master After Effects. Now, when it comes to After Effects, things can get a little complex. And for that reason, the first thing we want to do when it comes to a brand new program like After Effects is we first want to understand how it works, what the UI is like, so where everything is located, what each window does inside of After Effects. And on top of this, we initially want to understand how this even works with Premiere Pro. So the reason my first episode isn't us diving into the UI of After Effects and understanding how the program works, so that we can then later understand what concepts we need inside of this program to edit, is because first I need to explain to you guys, how do you even use After Effects with Premiere Pro? When should you use Premiere Pro? When should you use After Effects? And as a video editor, how is your workflow set up so that you use both Premiere Pro and After Effects at what they are good at? So without further ado, let's dive into our first session where we're first going to be understanding what After Effects is, how do we use it with Premiere Pro, and which one do we use and when. This being said, let's dive right in. So when it comes to After Effects, there's a few things that we first need to understand. There's a lot of misconceptions about this program. Some people think I only use Premiere Pro or I only use After Effects. That is not true. We use each editing program for what it's amazing at. And Premiere Pro is a well-rounded program. It's good at everything. Adobe built out Premiere Pro so that it can mainly be used for everything inside of editing. But at the same time, this also means that Premiere Pro isn't the best at everything. It means that it's very good at everything, but it's not the best. Because this basically means that Premiere Pro is a 5 out of 10 on everything. But there are programs that are 10 out of 10 on animations, but 1 out of 10 on the rest of things. So Premiere Pro is useful for all of the basic editing things, which is exactly why we use Premiere Pro to do things like cuts, because it's so easy to make cuts inside of Premiere Pro. We use it to do things like pacing. We even use it to generate subtitles and do basic text. Premiere Pro is good enough to a point where in 2025, the market standard doesn't need anything more complicated than Premiere Pro to do cuts, to do pacing, and to do basic text. And for that reason, we use Premiere Pro for that reason. Now, when it comes to animating, Premiere Pro is good. But because in 2025, the market just expects such heavy animations, unfortunately, we can no longer use Premiere Pro to do the animations. This is where After Effects comes in. After Effects is a program that is only designed with one single purpose in mind, and the single purpose is to be amazing at animating. And for that reason, we end up using After Effects just for animating. We can't do the cuts. We can do the cuts inside of After Effects, but it's horrible. We can't do the pacing, and we definitely can't do any text inside of After Effects. So for that reason, we end up using After Effects for animating and only animating. But this also opens up a whole bunch of fields. This opens up motion graphics, 3D animations, shape animations, very cool high quality visuals, text animations, and so on and so forth. This means there are so many animations that we could make inside of After Effects that it's basically unlimited. So this being said, once we complete the animations inside of After Effects, there's one more final step if you guys remember the 5 stages of editing, and that is sound design and music. And that is where we will be going back to Premiere Pro, since Premiere Pro is very, very good at allowing us to use sound design and allowing us to add in music. So this being said, you guys remember in one of the courses inside of our Premiere Pro Masterclass, I mentioned to you guys that there are 5 stages for video editing, and 4 of those stages are done inside of Premiere Pro. And one of those stages is done inside of After Effects. And that one stage is the animations. Everything that has to do with visuals and animations, After Effects is just so much better at it. But everything that has to do with cuts, pacing, sound design, and music, Premiere Pro is the program for this. So now that you understand where you're going to be using After Effects and where you're going to be using Premiere Pro, what's the workflow like? Like realistically, if you had some raw footage now, how do you end up using both of these? Well, I'll explain it real quick in theory, and then we're going to go ahead and do it together inside of Premiere Pro so that we can break this down for you guys. So in theory, because you want to use Premiere Pro for the cuts, the sound design, the music, you would drag in your footage into Premiere Pro. You would do your color grading and your audio, obviously, and then that's going to be for a different course. And then you would do your cuts, just as we learned inside of the Premiere Pro Masterclass. You would do J-cuts, just as we learned inside of the Premiere Pro Masterclass. And you would also prepare all of the footage so that you can bring it into After Effects. The way we prepare the footage is we do our J-cuts and cuts and our pacing, and we focus on Premiere Pro for that. And on top of this, because Premiere Pro has a nice feature of generating text for us, we generate subtitles inside of Premiere Pro, but we leave the designing of the subtitles over to After Effects because it's so much more complex. After that, you take all of this and you bring those into After Effects. How you do this is through dynamic link, which is what we're going to be explaining in this video. Now you bring those over to After Effects. And inside of After Effects, we do our animations, zoom ins, and everything that has to do with the visuals of the video. Once we're complete, we can either go back to Premiere Pro and then continue our edit, which is sound design music, or we can render the video inside of After Effects and bring it back into Premiere Pro as a complete video, which will save us more resources. So this being said, this is a complex overview. You're going to understand this as we go throughout After Effects, but let's quickly see how we do this in real life with Premiere Pro. So I've got my screen over here. The first thing I'm going to do is launch Premiere Pro to explain this for you guys. I've also prepared some raw footage for you guys to be training on. It's just a raw video that I've prepared for a different YouTube video, but we're still going to be using it for this specific tutorial. You guys can find this stuff down below as usual. So this being said, once Adobe Premiere Pro launches, it's always a good thing to keep in mind that Premiere Pro and After Effects are very closely tied. Okay, so these are meant to be used together. The first thing we're going to do is create a new project, and let's just go ahead and call it After Effects Basics. Okay, once we have created our project, we skip our import scene as usual. We put the project panel in the bottom left as usual, and we create a new sequence. And after we've created a new sequence, we can drag in our footage. Now let's go ahead and drag in the raw footage. Let's go ahead and do this. And after that, we can drag this into our timeline. Now I've been having a bug where I can't drag in any audio onto my sequence if I've created a sequence, so I'm just going to do this. You guys probably don't need to do this, but I'm just going to drag in my footage directly. Awesome. Once we've got our footage inside of Premiere Pro, how do we link this over to After Effects? Or in other words, how do we, let's say theoretically we did do the cuts and everything, which we will see later on in the masterclass, but let's say we did do the cuts. I'm going to quickly just do a quick example, right? Let's say we chopped up the video and this is it, okay? I don't want you to make any cuts now because it's going to be a bit more confusing, but let's say this piece of video is the video I wanted to work on for my edit. Right, I'm going to just trim out all the way over to here. Let's say this was my edit and I've done my cuts and I generated my subtitles. How do I bring this into After Effects? This is where we're going to be using Dynamic Link. Dynamic Link essentially links this footage into an After Effects project. Now to understand how this whole thing works, we're going to do it and then understand. Remember guys, I explained the concept a while back that understanding things is so much easier when you jump into the deep end and you just experiment. Experience teaches you so much more than just information. So instead of me just explaining this over to you guys, let's go ahead and do it. So if I wanted to bring this piece of footage into After Effects so that I can edit this exact piece of footage inside of After Effects and then bring it back to Premiere Pro, I could just select it, right click and click on Replace with After Effects Composition. What this essentially does is it replaces my current video with an After Effects composition. Okay, what an After Effects composition is like a project file. It's like the sequence inside of Premiere Pro. And essentially what we're now telling Premiere Pro to do is we're telling it, hey, I don't want this video to play as a video layer inside of Premiere Pro. I want it to play as a video layer of a composition in After Effects. So what is this going to do? This is going to tell Adobe, okay, I want you to take this video, open an After Effects project and put this exact same video inside of the After Effects project. And once we do this, we're going to be able to edit the After Effects project as if this was our video. And as you guys can see, it just launches After Effects on its own. The first thing it's going to ask you is to save your project. Now, this is super crucial because in After Effects, everything you do is saved on a project file. You will lose everything if you don't have the project file. So get used to this, okay? It's going to ask me to save my project. I'm going to go to my After Effects. Where is it? My After Effects folder here. And I'm going to call this After Effects Basics, okay? Get used to saving project files. This is very important. If you're ever working in a team and you need to share your project files with people, this is how you do it. If you're ever working in an environment where you lose files constantly, this is how you make sure you don't lose your After Effects project files. So I'm going to go ahead and save this over here. And now it's going to open up inside of After Effects. And that's exactly where we're going to be stopping this specific lesson, okay? That's it for Dynamic Link. That's exactly how it works. We just tell Premiere Pro that this specific video is now going to be edited inside of After Effects instead of Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro is going to launch this inside of a project file. Now, this being said, if we check Premiere Pro, we're going to notice this thing has turned to red. Red signifies that this is an After Effects composition. And guess what? If I watch through it, it's still the exact same video because I did not do anything to it. However, the moment I select this and change something about it, like for example, you guys don't need to do this, but let's say I moved it to the right side like this, all of a sudden inside of Premiere Pro, this thing is going to change. So now whatever we do inside of this After Effects project is going to affect our Premiere Pro project. If I were to draw this out for you, I would just recommend it looks like something like this. It looks like Premiere Pro is a program where you've got this video inside of it, but now we've told it that we need to edit this video inside of After Effects. So it took this same video and it said, okay, we're going to make a copy of it inside of After Effects. And whatever you make in this composition is going to be shown on this sequence over here, because this video is now linked to an After Effects composition. If this stuff sounds complex, don't forget the same thing I taught you guys in the Premiere Pro Masterclass. You will always learn things better with time and with experience. So if it sounds complex at all, which you will find a lot of moments that sound very complex in this course, don't worry, give yourself some time, you'll be able to learn it. So this being said, this is how Dynamic Link works. Now, let's say we're done with our footage here. All we have to do is click on Control S for it to save, and we can close down After Effects, and everything that we've done inside of this project file is going to be shown over here inside of Premiere Pro. So with this being said, guys, that's it for this first lesson. I just wanted to go ahead and cover the Dynamic Link, but now that we understand how Dynamic Link works and how we can bring our footage into After Effects, we'll later see how we can use this. But it's now time to dive into the After Effects UI, which might seem like a very scary thing, but it's actually really, really simple. So with this being said, let's dive into the After Effects UI in the next course. I'll see you guys there.